My sister Tara barked, "Here's to family who actually pulls their weight," and the church hall went dead silent before phones lit up to record. Heat shot up my neck, my throat locked, and my hands shook so violently the glass slipped, crashing to the floor. Cold sweat soaked my back, my jaw clamped tight, and my heart pounded louder than the mic crackling above us. My mother clapped along, smiling for cameras, as though my 7 years of saving, over $200,000 paid in cash, didn't exist. Derek leaned in and muttered, "You're too sensitive," just as the elder announced my deed would vanish if the Friday 5 p.m. deadline wasn't met. Every whisper in the crowd pressed down like a verdict. How could I lose my home paid in full, while my own family staged my humiliation as entertainment? I'm Marissa Hale, 38 years old, the overlooked daughter in a family that always put Tara first. I thought buying my own home after 7 years of saving would finally make them see me differently, but instead, they erased me on the very day I opened the door. The neighbor's photo of my mother at Tara's table burned in my hands, and my throat went tight as I realized Derek had known and never warned me. On Friday night, before it all blew up, I showed my cousin Jenna a chair I'd built in my workshop. Sawdust hung thick in the air, varnish sharp in my nose. She smiled too quickly, her eyes darting to the door. "You work too hard for nothing," she said softly, and my chest pricked with unease as she avoided my eyes. Why would she look so nervous about a simple chair? By Saturday afternoon, I'd laid out trays of food, set out glasses of lemonade, and strung lights across the porch. The living room smelled of garlic bread and polish. I texted the family chat again, watching the little read notifications appear with no reply. Derek leaned against the counter, scrolling. "They'll come. Stop worrying," he said, his voice clipped. My hands trembled as the phone buzzed once, then fell silent. Why would they read every message and not answer? At 5:10, the driveway stayed empty, balloons sagging above untouched cupcakes. My breath came shallow, and the sound of ice melting in glasses filled the silence. I lit candles anyway, whispering, "They wouldn't do this to me." The empty chairs stared back, and the air grew heavier with each tick of the wall clock. Why celebrate a housewarming when no one wanted to step through the door? By 5:30, Harold from across the street strolled over with his phone in hand. His porch light shone behind him, and he shook his head as he turned the screen toward me. There it was, Mom laughing at Tara's table, steak on the grill, wine glasses raised. My stomach dropped, heat crawling up my face. They didn't forget Marissa. "They replaced you," Harold said quietly. My jaw locked so hard it hurt as I stared at Derek's blurred figure in the background of the photo. Did Derek really go without telling me? Inside, the kitchen light flickered as I shoved leftovers into the fridge. Derek walked in, loosening his tie, the scent of smoke still on his clothes. "You're too sensitive." "It was just dinner," he muttered. I slammed the fridge door, hands shaking. "You lied," I snapped. He leaned closer, voice low and sharp. "You always overreact." The hum of the refrigerator filled the gap between us as I clenched my fists to stop them from shaking. Why would he defend their betrayal instead of mine? Sunday morning I dragged myself to church, the organ rumbling through the hall. Aunt Carol slipped beside me, her perfume heavy, her eyes darting to make sure no one heard. Her hand brushed mine, cool and urgent. "Marissa, don't trust what you see. Ask about the bank," she whispered. My throat tightened as the choir drowned her voice. Why hint at money when all I wanted was respect? On Monday at the county office, the fluorescent lights buzzed as a clerk shuffled through yellowed files. Papers scraped against the counter, and he frowned as he tapped the deed. "Your name's still here, but rent's been steady for years," he muttered. My stomach knotted as he turned another page. "Looks like it all went into a joint account." My pulse hammered in my ears, and my palms went clammy as he slid the file back. Who had the power to put my name on an account and keep me out of it? The clerk checked the clock, 10 a.m., the second hand pounding. "If you want to contest anything, you'll need to file paperwork by Friday, 5 sharp, he said. I nodded, swallowing hard, every breath shallow as the countdown stamped itself into my brain. 4 days to find the truth or lose my claim forever. How could I fight when I didn't even know who had been collecting the money in my name? The clerk's words still rang in my ears when I pulled into the cracked driveway of the Pine Road property. The air smelled of mildew, the gutter dripping onto warped wood. A man in stained overalls opened the door, holding a wrench. "You finally came," he said, his voice sharp. My breath caught as he explained he'd been paying rent in cash for years, straight into Tara's hand. My fingers trembled as I clutched my notebook. Why hadn't a single dollar ever reached me if my name was still on the deed? The tenant wiped his brow with an oil rag, his eyes narrowing. "Every month I left the envelope right here," he said, tapping the porch rail. The sound of his knuckles on wood made my stomach churn. Heat rose to my face as I imagined Tara smiling, pocketing that money. "You've been cheated," he added flatly. I wrote down the date he moved in, my pen shaking, knowing this detail might save me later. How long had she been robbing me behind my back? That evening, smoke from Tara's grill filled the cul-de-sac. Kids chased each other with sparklers while neighbors waved. I walked up the driveway, my throat tight, my jaw locked. Tara turned from the grill, spatula in hand, her smile stretched wide. "Well, look who finally showed," she said, voice dripping. My chest ached as I asked where the rent money went. Mom stood nearby with a glass of wine, her silence louder than any denial. If she sided with Tara in public, how could I fight the lie? Tara leaned closer, the hiss of the grill spitting behind her. "You'd waste it," she whispered sharply, then raised her voice for the crowd. I've been protecting her from herself. My heart pounded so hard I thought people could hear it. "Drop it or lose your place at Sunday dinners," she added coldly. Mom nodded, her chin tilted in approval, as if I were a child being corrected. My nails dug into my palm. Was my own mother blessing her theft? The laughter around the grill stung worse than words. My stomach twisted, the smell of smoke mixing with the sour taste of betrayal. I opened my mouth to speak, but Derek's hand tightened on my shoulder, pressing me down. "Don't make a scene," he hissed through clenched teeth. My arms shook as I pulled away, the crowd's eyes fixed on me. Why did Derek sound more like Tara's husband than mine? Later, alone in our dim bedroom, the tick of the clock cut through the silence. Derek scrolled on his phone, his face lit by the glow. I caught the reflection of a chat thread, my chest tightening. "What are you hiding?" I asked. He slammed the phone down. "You're paranoid," he snapped. My throat burned as I clenched the blanket. I remembered the tenant's words, the photo of Mom's smile, the way Tara's voice rose for the crowd. If even Derek turned against me, what weapon did I have left? My hands shook as I scrolled through the messages on my own phone, searching for proof. Then a buzz. A screenshot sent by mistake lit up my screen. Derek's text in the family chat. "She'll get over it." She always does. My jaw clenched until it ached, my chest heaving. The glow of the phone seared into my vision, proof of betrayal, but not enough for a filing. Could this screenshot hold up, or would they laugh it off as nothing? I closed my notebook, pressing it hard against my chest, trying to steady my breath. I'd written down dates, names, every word the tenant said. My notes felt flimsy, but they were all I had. Friday's deadline loomed in my head like a siren, 5 p.m. sharp. Without hard documents, the clerk would dismiss me again. How could I possibly prove theft when every piece of evidence seemed locked away in their hands? The next morning, I sat at Harold's kitchen table, the smell of stale coffee thick in the air. He slid a folded lease across the wood. The signature on the bottom made my stomach flip. The letters slanted the wrong way, the pen pressure uneven. "This isn't yours," Harold said firmly, tapping the paper. My hands trembled as I traced the ink. "It was notarized," he added, pointing to the stamp. A forged lease in my name already on file. How could I fight proof like this? I stormed into Tara's kitchen that afternoon, the clatter of dishes filling the silence. "You forged my signature," I snapped, my voice shaking. Tara smirked, flipping her hair, while Mom stood near the sink with folded arms. "We did it to protect you," Mom said coldly. My throat tightened, the smell of dish soap burning my nose. Tara leaned closer. "You'd lose the house anyway. Better in my hands. Why was my own mother helping her rob me?" By Thursday, the bank lobby buzzed with printers and low chatter. Liam, the officer, kept his voice even as he tapped the keyboard. "This account is active. You're not listed." My chest pounded, and I gripped the counter so hard my fingers went numb. "It's my deed, my tenant," I stammered. He shook his head. "Your husband filed an affidavit adding a signer. Without his consent, you're locked out." The printer spat out a statement, the ink still warm, showing Derek's name bold across the top. How could Derek cut me out of my own money? That night, Grease hung heavy in the diner air as Jenna slid into the booth across from me. Her phone buzzed, and I caught a glimpse of Tara's photo on the screen, our tenant's envelope in her hand. My heart raced, heat flooding my face. "Why do you have that?" I demanded. Jenna smirked. "Tara's smart. She knew you'd make noise." The fryer hissed behind us, drowning my breath. A notification popped up on her phone. Tara had just been warned I was digging. Had Jenna been feeding her my every move? Back home, my chest heaved as I flipped through my notebook, every page smeared from my sweaty palms. The clock on the wall clicked louder with every second. Friday's 5 p.m. deadline loomed like a trap. My phone buzzed again, an email from the clerk. "Incomplete documents. Come back Monday." The rejection stamp glared red across my scanned filing. My throat closed as tears stung my eyes. How could I wait until Monday when Tara already had the rent in her pocket? The next morning I sat in the pastor's office, the faint smell of incense mixing with old paper. He clasped his hands, voice soft but sharp. "Your mother says you're tearing the family apart. If you disrupt again, we may have to ban you from Sunday services." My stomach twisted, my breath shallow. "She stole from me," I choked out. He shook his head. "You need proof, not accusations." The tick of his desk clock drilled into my ears. What proof could I bring him when every file was blocked? At noon, Carol called me into her garage. The smell of gasoline clung to the air as she whispered, "I can back you publicly, or I can keep my job at the county clerk's. Not both." My hands shook as I gripped the workbench. "If you don't speak, I lose everything," I said, voice cracking. She looked down, avoiding my eyes. "If I do, I lose mine." My jaw locked so tight it ached. Did I dare sacrifice Carol to save myself? By 4:55 Friday afternoon, I was back at the clerk's counter, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. The clerk stamped my papers and slid them back. "Missing page." "No filing," he said flatly. My chest caved, my breath ragged, as the clock hand ticked toward 5. "Please, just let me at it," I begged, my palms sweating on the counter. He shook his head. "5 sharp? Try Monday." The thud of the stamp echoed like a gavel. How can I stop Tara from taking everything when the deadline has passed and the system itself has locked me out? Music blasted from Tara's backyard as I stepped through the gate, my stomach tight. Phones pointed my way before I could breathe. Tara raised a glass, her voice booming over the speakers. "Here's to family, the ones who actually pull their weight." Laughter broke out, flashing screens catching every second. My throat burned as I forced a smile, but inside my chest rattled like it might split. How could I answer when the crowd already decided I was the punchline? The smell of grilled meat choked me as I inched closer. "You forged my name," I snapped, loud enough for the group. Tara smirked, the fire from the grill lighting her face. "Delusions again, Marissa? Everyone here knows the truth." My hands shook so hard I almost dropped my phone. Neighbors whispered, phones still recording. How could I prove anything with Tara's lie already cemented on video? A deputy cousin in uniform pushed through the crowd, his badge glinting in the floodlight. "Back off, Marissa," he warned, voice cold. My knees buckled as he leaned close. "'Cause a scene and I'll cite you for trespassing." Sweat slid down my spine, the sound of kids shrieking in the distance. Tara smirked behind him, savoring my fear. If even law sided with her, how could I stand my ground without risking arrest? I stumbled toward the porch, checking my bank app, hoping for air. The glow of the screen blinded me, then hit like a punch. Balance 0. Funds moved. My throat locked, my pulse slamming against my ribs. "He emptied it," I whispered, screenshotting through blurry eyes. The scent of smoke mixed with bile rising in my chest. Derek had bled me dry. How could I fight with nothing left but a hollow account? Carol appeared beside me, pressing my hand quick and tight. "I'll speak up," she whispered, eyes darting at Tara. For a moment, my breath eased. The choir on her ringtone buzzed faintly in her pocket, steady as a promise. I clung to the chance, my nails digging into her palm. Could Carol's voice finally cut through the noise? But then Tara pulled her aside, her tone sweet for the crowd, venom sharp for Carol. "Think about your job at the clerk's office," she hissed. Carol's shoulders sagged, her lips sealed. My heart dropped back into the pit of my stomach, colder than before. If Carol wouldn't risk herself, who would ever risk anything for me? The music dimmed, and Derek stepped onto the deck, his shirt crisp, his smile false. "Stop embarrassing yourself," he told me loud enough for every phone. His words cut deeper than any forged paper. My jaw ached as I locked it shut, swallowing rage so hot it burned my throat. With Derek mocking me in front of everyone, how could I still claim I had a marriage worth saving? I tried again at the bank the next morning, stale coffee in the air. Liam wouldn't meet my eyes as he printed the account header. "You're not authorized. Without subpoena, nothing moves." His clipped tone pounded like the machine behind him. I clenched the counter until my fingers numbed. My notes felt weightless in my bag. If the bank barred me, where could I find proof strong enough for Friday's deadline? I dragged myself to the diner at noon, the clink of plates surrounding me. Jenna's voice rang out sharp. "Tara's right, Marissa's unstable." Heads turned, nodding, whispers spreading like fire. My stomach twisted, my palms slick on the table edge. Jenna's betrayal cut deeper than silence. She wanted me branded crazy. If even Jenna painted me as unstable, how could I expect anyone to believe my truth? That evening, I sat in Mom's living room, the TV laugh track echoing. "You're tearing us apart," she said, arms crossed tight. My throat burned, my heart hammering. "You let them steal from me," I shot back. She turned away, cold as stone. "Stop embarrassing us," she repeated. The flickering light of the TV lit her face, blank of regret. If my mother denied me, did I have any family left at all? As the sun dropped, my phone buzzed with the clock alarm I'd set. 48 hours until Friday's deadline. The sound drilled into my skull. My hands shook as I packed every note, every screenshot into a folder, breathing shallow. With Carol silenced, Jenna against me, Derek draining me, and the clock bleeding down, where could I possibly find evidence strong enough to break through the wall before the deadline slammed shut? The folder of notes weighed nothing in my hands when I walked back into the bank Saturday morning. The air reeked of burnt coffee. The fluorescent light stung my eyes. Liam scanned my papers, his expression stone. "Without a subpoena, I can't release statements," he said flatly. My chest tightened, my breath shallow. "But it's my property," I argued, voice shaking. He pushed the folder back, pages sliding across the counter. How could I fight Tara's account when the bank itself shut the door in my face? I clutched the counter, my nails digging into the wood. "Please, I need this before Friday," I whispered. Liam shook his head, tapping his pen. "The law's the law. Try court." The printer hummed behind him, spitting out yet another page with Derek's name stamped bold at the top. My throat burned as my vision tunneled on that ink. What judge would side with me against my own husband's affidavit? At noon, I forced myself into the diner, the smell of grease heavy, dishes clattering. Jenna leaned forward in a booth, her nails clicking against her glass. "Tara's right. You're unstable," she said loudly, making sure the whole room heard. My stomach twisted as whispers spread. A man at the counter shook his head. "Poor Marissa," he muttered. Heat crawled up my neck, my chest hammering. If Jenna was feeding them this story in public, how long before the community cut me out completely? I slid into the booth across from her, my hands trembling. "Why are you doing this?" I asked. Jenna smirked, her lipstick bright under the diner lights. "Because standing with Tara means survival," she said. Her phone buzzed on the table, Tara's name flashing. I reached for it, but she yanked it back. My jaw locked so tight it hurt. If Jenna betrayed me, was there anyone left who would risk siding with me? By late afternoon, I sat in Mom's living room, the TV laugh track drilling into my ears. "You're destroying us," Mom said, her arms crossed, chin high. My throat closed as I fought back. "They forged my signature. You know it." She shook her head, eyes fixed on the flickering screen. "Stop embarrassing us, Marissa. Enough." My chest ached, breath shallow, the smell of stale popcorn hanging in the air. If my own mother silenced me, did I have any family left to believe me? That night, I drove past the county office, the windows glowing faint yellow. Through the glass, I saw Carol shelving files. I parked, heart pounding, then slipped inside. "Help me file before Monday," I begged, my hands shaking. Carol's shoulders sagged. "If I alter filings, I lose my job," she whispered. The hum of fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. "Please," I begged again. She turned away. "I can't." My chest collapsed. If Carol wouldn't break rules for me, where else could I turn for help? I paced my kitchen at dawn, the refrigerator hum louder than my heartbeat. The clock blinked 9 a.m., ticking down toward Friday's 5 p.m. filing deadline. I laid out 2 options on the table: storm the clerk's office with incomplete papers, or confront Tara directly at her gathering that night. Both paths tasted of ash. My throat tightened as I stared at the stack of pages, my hands trembling. Which failure would cost me less? When I stepped into Tara's backyard that evening, the smell of charcoal and perfume filled the air. Phones swung up instantly. Tara stood by the table, glass raised. "To family who steps up," she said, her smile wide. Laughter rippled. My chest heaved as I forced myself forward. "You forged my lease," I shouted, voice raw. Tara turned, smirk sharp, crowd leaning in. "Prove it," she sneered. The sting of humiliation cut deep as phones caught every second. How could I prove fraud when all my documents were stamped rejected? I spotted Carol near the fence, her eyes glistening. But when I called her name, she shook her head, lips sealed. My breath caught, throat closing. She slipped out quietly, leaving me stranded. The one person who might have spoken had chosen silence. My chest ached like it was caving in. If even Carol abandoned me under Tara's shadow, was I truly alone now? The party roared louder, the smell of grilled meat cloying, voices rising. Derek stepped forward, his arm wrapping around Tara's shoulders. "Marissa needs help," he announced to the crowd. "She's not well." Gasps and chuckles rippled, phones angled higher. My vision blurred as I clutched the fence, nails biting wood. With Derek publicly framing me as unstable, how could I recover my dignity, let alone my case? I stumbled out as Tara's toast echoed behind me. "She'll be gone soon." The night air stung my lungs, my chest heaving. My phone buzzed, clerk's email flashing, filing rejected. "Try Monday." The glow of the screen seared my eyes, each word heavier than the last. My breath rasped, my fingers numb around the device. If Monday was too late, what chance did I have before the cutoff bled away? By Sunday morning, exhaustion blurred my vision. The countdown screamed in my head. 4 days gone, less than 1 left. The clock ticked 11 a.m., echoing like a hammer. Derek had my funds. Tara had the lease. Jenna poisoned the town. Mom silenced me. Carol withdrew. I sat on the floor, back against the fridge, breath shallow, chest hollow. Every route blocked, every ally gone. How could I notarize and file by Friday at 5 p.m. when I had no car, no money, no ally, and every gatekeeper had slammed the door on me? I had no keys, no ally, and less than a day to stop them from erasing me. What would you have predicted my first move should be? The fridge motor hummed as I sat on the floor, my phone buzzing in my lap. A new message blinked from Harold, the tenant. My hands shook as I opened it. Attached was a video, shaky but clear, showing Tara pocketing his envelope of rent cash at the porch rail. My throat tightened, my chest pounding. The timestamp glared in the corner, undeniable. Proof, a weapon in my hands. How could Tara survive this image if I brought it to light? I called Harold instantly, my voice rough. "Why now?" I demanded, my shoulders tight. He sighed, the static of his fan loud behind him. I was scared before, but I'm done being lied to. My breath steadied, the room suddenly sharper. "I'll stand with you if you'll use it right," he added. My jaw locked, my fingers gripping the phone hard. Could I risk relying on him when Tara already threatened everyone who spoke? At noon, I met Harold outside his house, cicadas buzzing in the trees. He handed me the original envelope, Tara's handwriting sprawled across it. My palms sweated as I slid it into a folder, the paper rough. "Don't waste it," he warned, his eyes hard. My throat tightened, my pulse quick. If this envelope was exposed too soon, Tara would twist it as fabricated. Did I have the control to wait for the right strike? That night, I pulled Derek's old laptop from the closet. The fan whirred loud as I logged in with his birthday. My hands trembled on the keys. In his email, I found scanned documents, lease files, bank screenshots, even a forged affidavit stamped. My breath hitched, sweat on my forehead. The glow of the screen revealed a trail. Tara sending drafts, Derek replying at midnight. My jaw clenched. They weren't sloppy mistakes. They were partners in crime. Could I risk printing these without tipping Derek off? The next morning, Carol met me at the park bench, cicadas buzzing overhead. "I shouldn't be here," she whispered, glancing around. My chest rose and fell fast as she slid a small key into my palm. "Clerk's back room, old copier. If you need copies without a log, that's your way." The metal pressed cold against my skin, my hand shaking. Her voice cracked. "If they catch me, I'm done." Could I drag Carol deeper into this storm when she'd already risked her job once? By Wednesday afternoon, I had the pieces. Harold's video, the envelope, Derek's emails. My chest hurt from shallow breaths, but my hands steadied as I lined them in order on the table. The hum of the fridge behind me felt like a war drum. I needed a stage, one Tara couldn't dismiss. The church hall, with phones out and family gathered, would be my arena. But how could I gain access without the pastor blocking me after Mom's warnings? I rehearsed my steps in the dark, the tick of the kitchen clock marking each breath. First, slip in with Carol's key and copy Derek's files before he scrubbed them. Second, secure Harold's promise to stand by me in front of others. Third, time it for Sunday when Tara would be shining for everyone. My shoulders ached, my jaw sore from clenching. Every detail mattered now. What if one piece slipped and the whole plan collapsed? On Thursday, I stood outside Harold's porch again, the cicadas screaming. "Will you testify if it comes to it?" I asked. He lit a cigarette, the crackle sharp. "If you stand in front, I'll back you," he said. Smoke curled as his eyes locked on mine. My stomach twisted, my breath shallow. If Harold faltered at the last second, I'd be left exposed, holding nothing but paper against Tara's charm. Could I afford to gamble everything on his word? As Friday's clock neared 5 p.m., I slipped into the clerk's office. The copier whirred, spitting Derek's emails into my trembling hands. Sweat slicked my skin as the hum echoed through the empty hall. Each page felt like steel, heavy proof of their collusion. But Carol's warning rang in my head. If they trace those copies, they'll know I helped. Could I deploy these files without dragging her down with me? The folder now bulged with video, documents, and witness promises. My chest rose steady, my hands finally still. The deadline had passed, but I was no longer cornered. I had weapons sharp enough to cut through Tara's lies. Yet the weight pressed harder. If I used them too boldly, I'd lose Carol's job, Harold's safety, maybe my own home. How could I strike in the church hall without destroying the only allies I had left? Saturday morning, the church hall echoed with the whine of the projector fan. My pulse thudded in my ears as I slipped a flash drive into the slot. The screen flickered, Derek's email header glowing for half a second before cutting to black. I yanked the drive out, heart hammering, sweat damp on my palms. If that file flashed during setup, anyone passing could see. Could I risk planting it now with Tara's allies walking these halls? Carol arrived with her hair tucked into a cap, her voice clipped. "We have 10 minutes before the custodian returns." My throat tightened, my breath shallow as I handed her the printed copy of Harold's time-stamped video. She slid it under hymnals at the back pew, the paper snapped loud in the empty room. "If they search me, I'm finished," she hissed. My jaw clenched. If Carol cracked, the plan collapsed before it began. At noon, Harold texted, his message buzzing my phone sharp. "I'll speak, but not alone." My chest locked as I called him. "You'll stand with me," I said, forcing my voice steady. The crackle of his lighter came through the line. "If I see others holding back, I'm gone," he muttered. My hands shook, the kitchen clock ticking behind me. Could I anchor Harold's courage when Tara's crowd turned on him first? That evening I staged a dry run with the sound system. The microphone squealed, my heart spiking. The USB refused to load, red light blinking on the laptop. My breath came fast, my throat dry. Carol cursed under her breath. Files corrupted. My chest seized until I remembered the second drive in my bag. I swapped it, the screen humming alive with Derek's reply to Tara. Rent pocketed, affidavit ready. My lungs finally filled. Could I trust one fragile stick to carry all my proof? Sunday morning, the pews filled with perfume and murmurs. Tara swept in, her heels clicking, arms open. "Thank you all for joining," she called, her smile wide, phones rising to capture her. I watched from the side aisle, jaw tight, pulse racing. She raised her glass of water like a toast. "This family thrives because we cut dead weight." Laughter broke out, her arrogance feeding the room. Did she realize she'd just handed me the perfect opening line? I ducked backstage, the smell of old curtains thick. Carol whispered, "Pastor's moving the order. You're up earlier." My stomach lurched, my fingers numb as I fumbled with the folder. "If I speak too soon, they'll shut me down," I whispered. The hum of the speakers carried Tara's voice through the curtain. I clenched my jaw. Was the timing already slipping out of my control? I checked the seating chart, my fingertip tracing rows under harsh fluorescent light. Harold was buried in the back, Carol 3 pews ahead. Phones glowed in every corner. I slid the envelope with Tara's handwriting under the first row, angled so a camera could catch it when I lifted it. My pulse slowed as focus locked in. One wrong movement, and Tara would spin it as planted. Could I time the reveal before she twisted it? The projector whined as I tested the remote, the beam sharp against the white wall. Derek's email popped in bold, his name blazing. My throat burned as I clicked it off, hiding the screen. Carol's voice cut in. Once you hit that, there's no turning back. My hand steadied on the remote, breath counting slow. If the system failed mid-play, would the crowd see truth or chaos? The clock above the pulpit clicked closer to noon, the glass face gleaming. My folder, the drive, the envelope, Harold's word, all in position. The air felt tight, charged, my chest pounding steady. Tara's laughter rolled across the hall, her charm sealing the crowd. Phones angled toward her. I gripped the remote, jaw tight, breath sharp. If I pressed play now, everything would explode in public view. How could I stop once I exposed Derek and Tara in front of everyone with no chance to pull back? The church hall buzzed with voices, perfume sharp in the air, phones lifted high. The projector hummed, light spilling across the white screen. My pulse thudded in my ears as I gripped the remote. This family thrives on truth, I said, my voice steady though my chest heaved. The click echoed and Derek's email flared bright on the screen. Rent pocketed, affidavit ready. Gasps rippled, whispers rising. If I didn't follow with the next strike, Tara would twist it instantly. Tara shot to her feet, heels clicking against the polished floor. That's fake, she snapped, her smile brittle. My jaw locked as I raised the stamped copy of the lease. The paper crackled in my trembling hands. This is your handwriting, I said, holding it high. Carol's voice cut in from the pew. I processed that file. It was logged under Tara's name. The room fell silent, the weight of her words pressing. How could Tara explain when the clerk herself had spoken? Derek stepped forward, his cologne sharp, face flushed. Stop humiliating us, he barked, sweat glistening at his temple. I turned the screen again. Harold's video lit up, timestamp bold in the corner. Tara's hand snatched the envelope from him, sliding it into her purse. Gasps erupted, phones flashing. Harold's voice carried from the back. That's my rent. She took it every month. My throat tightened, breath shallow. If Tara denied Harold now, she would call every witness a liar. Tara's laugh cracked, too loud. He's lying to save her, she said, pointing at me. My shoulders stiffened as the deputy cousin in uniform stepped forward, badge gleaming. Time-stamped videos admissible, he muttered, voice carrying through the PA. Phones turned toward him, recording every word. My pulse raced, my chest rising and falling sharp. The uniform that once shielded Tara now leaned toward me. Would the crowd finally turn? The pastor cleared his throat, microphone popping. Enough, he said, his eyes sweeping the pews. This house will not be divided by lies. I braced for the blow, but his gaze locked on Tara. Stealing from your sister is disgraceful. The polished floor gleamed under the shifting crowd as murmurs surged. My fingers dug into the remote. The pastor's rebuke had cracked Tara's shield, but was it enough to topple her? Tara's hands shook as she grabbed Derek's arm. Say something, she hissed. Derek's jaw flexed, sweat dripping down his temple. I signed the affidavit, he admitted, voice tight. Phones shot higher, lights blinking red. The crowd gasped, the silence cutting deeper than noise. My chest tightened, my knees trembling. Derek had just confessed. But did that mean he'd take Tara down with him or protect her still? Carol stepped forward, her voice clipped but steady. The filing's fraudulent. I'll testify. My breath steadied, shoulders lifting with control I hadn't felt in weeks. The projector hummed as Derek's reply email froze on the wall. The stamped word fraudulent gleamed under the overhead light. My heart pounded, jaw tight, as the church hall erupted in shouts. If Carol held, Tara's case was finished. But could she withstand the fallout Tara would unleash? Tara staggered back, her perfume sharp as she shoved Derek away. It was his idea, she cried, voice cracking. Derek's fists clenched, veins visible in his flushed neck. You pocketed the rent, he spat, his words ricocheting through the hall. My breath caught, chest heavy, as the room tilted. Husband against wife, both unraveling in front of phones. Their downfall was complete, but who would the community punish harder, Tara or Derek? The hall erupted in chaos, chairs scraping, voices colliding, phones recording every second. Tara screamed denial, Derek shouted back, and Carol held the lease high. The deadline had passed, but the truth was now public, undeniable. My pulse throbbed in my ears, breath shallow as the crowd swelled with fury. With Tara cornered and Derek exposed, one question blazed in my mind. Who else would fall with them once the fallout hit? The hall roared until the pastor raised his hand. Silence rippled, broken only by the scrape of chairs. Carol stepped forward, holding the lease high, her voice clipped. This document is void. Tara loses all claim. The paper rustled as phones zoomed in, recording every detail. My chest loosened as Tara's face drained of color. The authority of Carol's voice sealed the first blow. Would Tara finally grasp she no longer held power here? Derek's voice cracked as he tried to recover. I was misled, he shouted, sweat streaking his temple. The deputy cousin stepped up, badge catching the light. Fraud carries penalty. You'll face it. The deputy didn't just warn. He pulled out a warrant. Your accounts will be frozen until the court settles this, he said flatly. Phones flashed brighter, capturing Derek's collapse. My breath steadied as his shoulders slumped, the weight finally pressing on him. His downfall was public, undeniable, and irreversible. Could he still spin himself as a victim after that uniform declared the charge? Jenna tried to slip toward the exit, but whispers followed, cameras chasing her. She spread the lies, a neighbor hissed, voice sharp in the hush. Jenna froze, her lipstick trembling, as murmurs hardened into judgment. Mom stood still, arms crossed, her silence finally broken by stares. My throat loosened, breath slow, as the circle of blame closed around them. Would Mom choose silence again, now that the whole room demanded truth? Tara fell to her knees, her voice shrill. You can't do this, she cried. Carol's reply cut like steel. You did it to yourself. Gasps filled the room, then a hush so thick I felt it in my skin. My shoulders dropped, the strain releasing. The catharsis was sharp, the thief was named, the lie undone. Justice landed, not with revenge but with exposure. I faced the crowd, my chest rising steady now. Respect isn't inherited or demanded. It's earned by honesty, I said. The room held its breath, the projector's hum fading. For the first time in years, I felt like I had the keys to my own house again. Would you forgive her for this? Yes or no?